Good morning, fellow Rotarians and guests. Good morning. It's a wonderful morning. With that, I am Dave Basil, president of the Rotary Club of Hudson. I'd like to welcome everyone this morning. Invocation this morning is by Liz Ramsey. Liz?
Good morning, Rotarians.
Good morning.
Let's pray. We are honoring you, Father, as the only true and living God. You know the details of the future of our country. Thank you for intervening and bringing about what is best. Surround our new President, Trump, with wise people, and thank you for the new Vice President Pence. And thank you that we are all pretty special in this room. Thank you that our sins are nailed to the cross, and thank you for everything you do for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Liz. And now to lead us in the pledge and the four-way test, Dan Williams.
Morning, Rotarians.
Good morning, Dan.
Let's honor our country by reciting a pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks for turning that off. And the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is true. Second, third, and fourth. Would be beneficial to all concerned. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Next, our songmeister, Mr. Pearsall.
Yes. I'm awaiting the words to When You're Smiling. There you go. Oh, okay. Let's see how it goes. This is for our gentleman that's the speaker today. I think his attitude and the whole situation that he has is a very worthwhile thing, and I think we ought to be smiling about it. So let's go ahead and see how it goes. When you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. A little louder. When you're laughing, better. When you're laughing, the sun comes shining through. But when you're crying, that rains on the rain. So quit your sighing, stay happy again. But when you're smiling, big ending, the whole world smiles with you. That's our speaker. Hi.
Thank you, Dick. You always pick a song that's appropriate for the theme, it seems. Chris Barker, we have several guests today.
Good morning, Rotarians. If you would, we have a lot of guests with us today. So when I introduce the guests, if they would please stand up so we can give them a warm Rotary welcome. Okay, Mike Swain has a few guests with him today. Gene Urban and John Hopkins. Thank you for joining us. And then from Hudson Service Learning, we have co-teachers Lonnie Banner and Jamie Cosman. And also they have two students with them today. We have Jade Ritzert, who's been helping us with the AV this month, thank you, and Isaac Mayshok. And then also Jade's mom is here today, Val Scruggs. Thank you. And then we also have Karis Walker. She works for Megalite here in Hudson. So thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you, Chris, and a special welcome to all of our guests. We hope to see all of you come back and see us again. Mr. Sogan, Santa on the Green.
I have a couple of things. I've got a get well card for Jack Belby. Most of you know that Jack has helped us out with the Santa on the Green. If you're not familiar with what happened, he was volunteering at Barlow Farm, fell from a scaffold and broke part of his neck, both wrists, a collarbone, and various other injuries. And so we're going to send him along a card from our group and send him your prayers and well wishes. The Santa on the Green sign up, again, we're filled up, but as usual, the more the merrier with this. So just sign your name at any of the workstations, the shifts that you can make, just off to the right-hand side of this. I'll pass that along. And lastly, the football team has made it to the regional finals. We'll be playing at Twinsburg on Friday night at 7:30 versus Warren Harding. And again, it's one of those types of things when you make it this far. It's a tremendous accomplishment. The guys have played great. The coaching staff has gotten them ready. And this is a significant opponent. You can get pre-sale tickets at the high school for $8. It's $9 at the gate. If you buy them at the high school on Thursday or Friday, the school makes a couple bucks on each one. So thank you very much. Don't forget to sign the card and sign up for Santa on the Green. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. And Santa on the Green absolutely is more the merrier. It's a great experience. It really is a lot of fun. And make certain to sign the card for Jack. Jack has helped us out for a number of years, so we really want to send along our best wishes to Jack in his recovery. Tom Page, Fall Fundraiser.
That's an abbreviated run, but we're off and running. And actually, what I really wanted to do, show you how the system works. All of you should have gotten a packet, and if you haven't seen your team captains, I'll show you the list. I know, and then we send them out electronically, right, Jimmy?
Well, you send them all the captains. Captains should send all the electronic copies. So
Yeah. And there's so many ways you can do it. Yesterday I was over at my old place of work and I hit them up and got some stuff, and you all can do those kind of things. It's okay. It's okay to ask. Whoops. That's just a schedule. We're right now in the promotion of sales. That one, it just shows you how you can get your minimum of $100 net. And here are the teams. Zappy's Tires. I'm a proud member of Zappy's Tires. And this is what I wanted to go over with you. So yesterday, I got this order, and I filled out my form. I sent it to my captain, and I made a copy of it, of course. And then I have a check with an envelope. It has my name on it. Put the check in here. And where do you give all this information along with your sign-up sheet? Who do you give it to? Larry Santon. Larry, please come up here. I know. Goes back to my old teaching days, mate.
Okay.
There you go, big buddy. So that's the way it goes. I see a lot of synergy going on. I see checks floating around, which is really good stuff. That means we got orders. And any questions at all?
Let me just take a moment.
One last thing. I hope it's okay with Jim. Captains are going to report next week how they're doing. And that means they're going to be lined up here, and they're going to give a report how they're doing. Yeah, how many roses, dozen roses they've sold, how many cans of caramel corn, and you don't have to talk about donations, but they are more than welcome.
Okay, you heard me say that, oops. You heard me say this last year. This is the key to success, and Thomas said the same thing. I'll be sitting or standing back here after the meeting. I've got envelopes for you. That's the key piece, is if you give me a check, and I really prefer to have you put it in an envelope so that I know who gave me the money. That's a key piece to the puzzle, because in the past, I think you heard me mention, I ended up with money and I didn't know whose it belonged to, so it just went into the pot. So try to be sure that if you fill it out, send it on, make sure I get it, and I'll be here waiting for you this evening.
Tom, remind everybody the beneficiary.
The kids, scholarships. If you got a bad attitude toward others, change it. Because we're doing it for our kids, okay? The leaders of tomorrow, that's who we're doing it for. And when you get that in up here, everything just flows. Jane, if you want to take that
Yes, Jim.
They were going to report next week, but we have a meeting next week.
No. So it will be November the 30th. The captains have a reprieve. They will report on the 30th because there isn't, as I was going to announce at the end of the meeting, we are not meeting next week. It's the day before Thanksgiving. A lot of people traveling, so we'll meet again the next time on November 30th. Next, we have Lonnie Banner and the service learning students. So if you could come up and tell us a little bit about your experience and your future plans.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. So happy to see all of you. I just want to take a second and tell you that next week is Thanksgiving, as you know, and I just want to let you know that you are one of the many things that I am thankful for, your commitment to the community. So thank you so very much. As far as things going on in service learning, hopefully you'll be able to participate soon. We're going to be ringing the bell for the Salvation Army at the Acme and Hudson starting the week after Thanksgiving. We'd love to have you join us. We'll be ringing Monday through Thursday. And I'll get those dates out to Gail. And we're also going to be starting our Random Acts of Kindness research projects, with which all of you have graciously helped us out with over the past couple of years. So that information will be coming through Gail as well. But two other things that I'm thankful for are my students, Jade and Isaac, and they're going to be talking to you a little bit today about their site and their college plans. So thank you so much, and lovely Jade.
Hi. I volunteer at Ledgeview Elementary School for 5 hours every Tuesday. I specifically work with fourth graders, and they're fun, but they're challenging at times. One of my favorite memories probably would be when I leave every day around like 2 o'clock, and it's always in the middle of social studies class, so I have to be super quiet because I don't want to get them off tasks. For them to get back on task is just crazy. So I usually just wave goodbye to my teacher and I walk out, but I got chased down by my little student, and he gave me a big hug, and he said he couldn't wait to see me next week. So that's just awesome to see how big of an impact you're having on the students. Not only do they have impact on just the students, they have an impact on you too. I think it's an awesome opportunity that we get to have. And I hope to continue to do stuff like this just like in college, and I hope to attend to OSU or University of Dayton, and as my 4 years of undergrad, I want to major in biology or exercise science, and then I want to attend a physician's assistant school for 2 years. And yeah, that's what I plan to do.
My name is Isaac Mashok, and I serve at Kent United Disability Services. I serve with adults with different disabilities or needs that they might have. And I love serving at this site because I've never really been in an area where I have to work with people with those sorts of needs. And it's awesome to be able to work with them and not only learn about them, but to also see how actually they can interact with other people. And so I usually, when I'm there, I do crafts with them, or I help them paint or color, or I help them work. They actually have organizations there so they can work and they can actually earn money for doing services at the actual site itself. But one of my favorite memories about working there is whenever I leave, they always say hello and goodbye. Even when you're leaving, they still say hello because that might be the first time they've seen you. But I just love seeing hello and goodbye from them, and then all their faces light up, and it makes me feel special because they're looking at me as not only just this person who has to be there, but actually as a friend to them, which is awesome. And my plans after high school is I actually want to go to Akron University for mechanical engineering, and I want to get a degree in that, and then I want to go on another 2 years to get a master's in robotic engineering, and that's where I hope to fall and serve my life.
Does anyone have any questions? Thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Lonnie. Thank you, Jade and Isaac, for being here this morning. We'll look forward to your future contributions as well. Next up is today's speaker from Edwin's Restaurant and Institute. To do the introduction, Mike Swain. Mike.
Well, it's a pleasure for me to introduce this morning our speaker, Brandon Krotowski, Director of Edwin's Leadership and Restaurant Institute, located in Shaker Square. And if you haven't eaten at Edwin's yet, I've got to tell you, you're missing out on a great fine dining experience. For the last several years, Brandon has been on a mission to assist those who have been in prison with reentry back into society. In 2007, Brandon founded Edwin's Leadership and Restaurant Institute. And this idea for Edwin's was born from a break that Brandon actually received when he got in trouble early in life. And he decided he wanted to try to give back, to give second chances to other people. This idea has grown from a 6-month program conducted in prison that provides training in culinary and hospitality, and it's grown to a full-service restaurant dedicated to teaching those recently released all facets of restaurant operations. And then they can graduate from the institute and go on to other places to get a job in the restaurant industry or hospitality industry. Brandon began his career in Detroit almost 20 years ago and has since trained in some of the world's finest restaurants, including Charlie Trotter's and Lucas Carton in Paris, Le Cirque, Piccolini and Chanterelle in New York City, and La Albatross Brasserie and Bar in Cleveland. He received an associate's degree in culinary arts and a bachelor's degree in business and restaurant management at the Culinary Institute of America. An accomplished sommelier, Brandon received his certification from the Court of Master Sommeliers in 2008. And with that, we want to show a quick video clip to give you a better introduction to Brandon and what he's doing, and then we'll bring him on. Hopefully we can get the sound with it.
No sound.
One night, I was arrested and thrown in jail. Fortunately, I had a judge who gave me a break. Everyone deserves that fair and second chance. And Edwins, you can come to us and start over. Fire 51. It's a fine dining restaurant. We have a very classic French menu, but also free 6-month culinary and hospitality training program. We're in Julie on the camera. My left hand moves, my right hand follows. What we try to do here is teach those fundamentals. Keep them close to the blade. There you go. All the students here are formerly incarcerated or have had a brush with the law, like myself. What's the big difference between California Pinot Noir and Burgundy?
They expect us to work really hard, but it gave me a sense of purpose.
Nobody even mentioned the birthday. That's upsetting to me.
They were somewhere I belong, people who need me somewhere. My value did not decrease because I have a record.
You can overcome a hard challenge here at Edwins. It gives you confidence.
They say I make the best, but not a Boston around.
We're here because we want to see them succeed.
I'm here, I'm doing it, I'm going to finish, I'm going to get a job. How good?
To have a second chance is to have a new life. If you're ready to work hard, you can change the stars.
All right. With that, I'd like to ask Brandon to come on up and tell us the story. Good morning.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. And I'm sorry, Mike set me up here. I didn't bring any food with us. So I wasn't expecting that video so early. And well, in any event, you have to come to the restaurant then. So, how many of you have been to Edwin's or know about the program? Okay, good. So there's some people who have tried the food, who have experienced this experience, and can speak about it. And for those who haven't, I want to let you know what's going on over here in Cleveland, over in Shaker Square. So this video from CNN was a pleasure because it kind of captures just the essence of what we do. But how it all began was not captured. It's a little bit of a longer story, but I'd love to share with you. It was, it started when I was younger. I was 19, and I had gotten arrested and thrown in jail. And at that point, my life was, was stripped of whatever I had, literally and figuratively. And, that wasn't the end, though. It wasn't the end. It was just the beginning, but I didn't know that. Someone told me a story once about this, person who gets his horse, and they're like, "That's the best horse in the world. This horse is great." And they're like, "Well, we'll see." And the kid falls off and breaks his leg. They're like, "This is the worst horse in the world." I'm like, "Well, we'll see." And next thing you know, break after break after break. So I didn't know where my life was going to lead me until up about, 12 years ago. So getting released from jail and sitting in front of a judge who controlled my destiny was an uncomfortable position. He kind of stared down on me. I'll never forget how he looked at me, kind of like a cold lump on his plate. Perhaps that's why I want to serve good food all the time, because a cold lump doesn't feel good. And he gave me a break. What he did is gave me an opportunity to do something. So what that break was probation. So I'm 19, I'm on probation, I've got a ton of energy, and I ended up meeting this big portly Greek chef named George in downtown Detroit. And when I mean big, he had like these sausage-like fingers. He was like a cartoon, if you could imagine. And he taught me the fundamentals of culinary arts and hospitality. And these were the greatest lessons that I ever received in my life. Aside from that of the church. And truly a restaurant saved my life. It was the one thing that got me away from the trouble. It was one thing I actually felt good at, and it was the one thing that I had a mentor with. So it was pretty sweet. Especially it was a lot sweeter than being behind bars. So this skill was one thing, and hard work was totally another thing. In any event, I finish up in Detroit, and George pushes me out and literally says, you got to go, I can't teach you anymore. And so I ended up going to the Culinary Institute of America in New York. And when I arrived, I realized that I wasn't just some schlep trying to learn how to make hollandaise and pasta. I actually knew what I was doing. So I was refining my skills in school. So I quickly learned that the lessons George gave me were valuable, and it quickly put me on a different level of leadership. And it was a great lesson, and I said to myself, well, if this is where I'm starting at this great culinary school, well, then I need to push it a little further. That's what George had said. So I ended up apprenticing under Charlie Trotter. Has anyone heard of Chef Trotter in Chicago? Okay, if you don't, probably this nation's best chef that we've seen in decades. He was the best. He was the greatest. On the flip side, he was a real SOB. I mean, this guy was something else. I mean, he would really know how to push your buttons. He would really push you to a different level. But without Chef Trotter, I wouldn't be here today. Because the most important thing he taught me was that life has no limits. It's like this limitlessness to what you want to accomplish in life. And that's dangerous, because after that, you can do anything, right? Charlie Trotter, any chef that worked under him would tell you the same thing, that without him, they wouldn't be where they are at. But they would also say he was a real, pain in the ass. When I left Charlie Trotter's, that was my apprenticeship for school. I had to return back to school. And I think I ticked off every chef when I went back to school, because I was like, Chef, I think we could do this better. Chef, I think we could do this better. I think someone was just up here, they were a teacher. Was that you? Were you a teacher in your previous life? And I mean, like, that's a pain in the ass, right? You have a student telling you that, teacher, we could do this better. So like, Charlie Trotter was a great man, but he really, cursed me in a good way. So when I finished school, I said, well, if Charlie Trotter said there's no limits to life, well then I'm going to France and I'm going to work and I'm going to become the best chef in the world. So I got a ticket to France and just went there. And I didn't read, write, or speak the language. So I was totally illiterate. And this was another fascinating lesson, was that hard work doesn't have a language. So I started in a small town of Tours, which is in central France, and I worked my way all up to a Michelin 3-star restaurant in Paris. And it was the longest standing Michelin 3-star restaurant, so you don't get any better than this. I left for the United States back, and I went to New York City and started to begin my career, and I thought that was going to be it. I was going to live and die in New York City and be the best chef in the world, because anything east or west of that Hudson River is the world. I mean, it's this New York, Manhattan, right? So I said, this is it. I'm going to be the best. And a funny thing started happening. Life started to take a toll, and I'm not saying physically, but more emotionally. So I'm sitting here working at Le Cirque, which is in the Palace Hotel on 55th in Madison, and serving these fine meals, and I would get a phone call from back home that some of the chefs I worked for, one of them was killed in Detroit. Not George, but another one of my mentors. And then a young man was stabbed to death 30 times and found in a vacant building. And I said to myself, I mean, here I am at this fine restaurant in a life that's totally unexpected, and I had friends back home getting killed. Then I heard about those getting thrown in prison, and I said, I mean, this is tough. I mean, this is tough to weather. Here I am, and there they are. And nonetheless, you keep on moving, right? Because that's what you do in life. You got to keep moving. You keep moving. Then I started to realize a couple other things that really settled in. I never came from a lot. But I was certainly living in poorer areas than I had in my life, because these great restaurants pay very little. It's like this wonderful, dichotomy you have when it comes to fine dining, is you're in a great restaurant, but they don't pay a lot. So here I am serving these $5,000 bottles of wine. We're cooking up these $1,000 meals, and you go back to a neighborhood and you're struggling for a quart of milk. So that started to be even more uncomfortable. And then lastly, I couldn't help but think of the break that I received, and that the color of my skin had everything to do with it. Not just something, but everything. Detroit's predominantly African American, and I'm white, if you haven't noticed. And so I make it out of this city where most of my mentors, the people that raised me and taught me to become a man, were black, but they were hitting ceilings. And race plays a big deal in this country, and it still does, it still did, and it still will. And all three of these things started adding up, and I said, that's it. I've got to build this restaurant school that's going to help those that are coming out of prison or out of the inner cities and learning a skill like George taught me. It's the highest level. And it was as simple as that. I mean, really, it was as simple as that. I said, I'm going back to school, I'm writing a business plan, and that's where the rubber really met the road. That was 2004. It's now 2016. So like, what the heck happened in 12 years besides like getting gray hair? Well, a couple things. One, I figured out every lesson that I had learned in the kitchen helped me succeed and build this. Everyone says, well, did you go to business school? Who taught you this? It's like, life teaches you this, right? I mean, Charlie Trotter said, make it happen, right? No matter what the challenge is, you can do it. Chef George, with his chubby little fingers, he said, hey, look, it's not practice that makes perfect, it's perfect practice that makes perfect. So learn the skill the right way and you'll have something forever. And then this lesson in France was hard work doesn't have a language. So I'm thinking about these things and infusing them. So boom, out comes Edwin's. It's like this child that's birthed with, 3 heads. And, it's like, Edwin started just because of a break, but it continues because of hard work and sacrifice. And that's what continues making it work today. The progression from 2004 till today, really the most significant thing was teaching in prisons in 2011. So if you go back to 2011, I started teaching in Grafton Prison and going in there with knives and burners and things that the state would say, this is absolutely insane, why, how and why are you doing this? And it was because we couldn't teach the right skill without the right equipment. And without the right skill, someone doesn't get employed. And if anyone knows anything about reentry, there's a few things that are problems. One is right now in this country, we have a little less than 5% of the world's population. The United States is small, despite what you think. It's small. But we have a very large prison population, about 25% of the world's prison population. So something doesn't add up right there, right? 5%, 25, it should be 5 and 5. It is not. There's this cost factor behind it, about $74 billion we spend a year in incarceration, and that's before, during, and after someone's released. And just so you know, I mean, these 2 youngsters that are coming in, you're going to college, right? Well, we spend 6 times more on prisons than higher education. Just so you know where you are as a priority. You're 6 times beneath incarceration. So our country's definitely got our shit together. No. Okay, lastly, we have this problem of recidivism, right? Recidivism is not a spice, okay? It's not like curry and star anise. Recidivism is the rate at which someone returns back to prison. And currently in this country, we're at about 50%. So 50% of the 650,000 people that get released each year go back. They just go back. It's like you can spin a wheel, and then half of them will come, half of them will go. So when thinking about starting this and starting to work in prisons and knowing what it would take to deliver a remedy for someone not to return, well, the only thing I knew was a restaurant and fine dining. So that's what Edwin's does. We're a 6-month training program. We're also a fine dining French restaurant, as you saw in the video. So we're going to teach you through 6 months business basics. You're going to look at P&Ls. You're going to work every position that there is in the restaurant, offering perspective. So when you work at the highest level, you're learning the right skills. And when you work in every position, you start to see how this puzzle fits together, right? You say, hey, this piece goes here, that piece goes there. The reason we're doing A is because of B, C, and D. So the most valuable thing that we're lending at Edwin's is this perspective of how to maneuver through a restaurant and succeed. Because if you can, you'll always be employable. In fact, to this day, we have about 50 restaurants on a waiting list to hire our graduates. And this is, a month before someone maybe comes to Edwin's, they might get a dishwashing position because of their offense and because of who they are, because of how they feel. After Edwin's, they're selecting exactly where they want to go and how they want to work the rest of their career. So at Edwin's, we provide, rock solid education. We offer a very deep perspective of how to succeed in this restaurant business. What we also do is block and tackle. So what that looks like is there's a case manager. There's Derek, who's here with me today, who does community outreach. We have committed group of staff that help get others over the problems that they're facing. So when you come to Edwin's, you have a life plan. Like, you write what you want to do, and what we're trying to do is help you succeed with that life plan. So no matter what the obstacle is, we've got a plethora of people who want to help, who are very skilled. And we just start to connect the dots and make it happen, just like Charlie Trotter would say, right? Make it happen. So what does that mean? So someone's got a warrant that they have outstanding. Well, we'll find an attorney, most likely one of our diners. We'll call them up and we'll say, hey, look, Joe's got a warrant. We need to get this vacated. Otherwise, he's going to graduate this program. might get pulled over for a traffic stop, go back to jail, lose a job, and so on and so on, right? So we solve any sort of legal issue that's coming up, or try to solve it, or put people in the right direction to solve it. We tackle that same issue when it comes to families, or senior kids, or child support, or whatever it may be. We're making sure that we tackle any problem that's going to prevent our students from accomplishing their dreams. So we say, well, that sounds romantic. Well, it is because it works. But also, it doesn't just stop with what we outsource, it's what we can do within. So about 1.5 years ago, there was a problem. We were asking more out of our students than I think we were asking out of ourselves. So we would say, hey, you got to memorize, the recipe to hollandaise and béarnaise and all these mother sauces, and what are the grapes in Bordeaux, and how do you make pastry cream? And so you're asking so much out of someone, and yet they're going home to a shelter. So so for someone like this young lady who wants to go to OSU or University of Michigan, either one, you have this problem of saying, I'm going to a great school, but where am I going to sleep at night? No one would ever ask someone to live in a shelter when they're going to college, but we were. So it was demand for housing, and looking around Cleveland and the surrounding area for housing with people with a felony, it was exactly what you'd expect. It was very low, I think borderline degrading. It was a roof and it was shelter, and it wasn't more than that. So I said, we're going to build housing. And they say, well, you're crazy. I said, well, that's not the first time someone says this. And so in 3 months, raised $1.2 million. Okay, 3 months later, put 3 buildings together in a deal. And 13 months after that, we have a campus. So we now have a 25-bed dorm room where our students can live for free. We have an 8-bed alumni house where any graduate who wants to live, it's $200 a month. And we have a fitness center, library, test kitchen, basketball court, all done. Boom, just like that. Okay, why? Because we make it happen. It's not about twisting the glass, looking at it. Just drink the water, right? Let's not overthink this. Let's shoot, let's aim, and let's fire. So, sometimes people question that approach, but it's effective and it's working. And how good is it working? Well, it's great because the media, they're like, I don't know, they're good and they're bad, right? They'll turn on you like a wild animal. But for now, they're our friends, right? This word is spreading. I've done interviews in Malaysia. Univision picked up the story in Latin America. That's a few million people. CNN, New York Times, Washington Post. Gone to Washington to talk to senators. Going back to Washington to talk to senators. The idea is spreading because people see this effectiveness. We have now 150 graduates. 1.5% have returned to prison. That's it. It's like 2 people. That's a lot less than 50% of our nation's average. The business is viable and successful, and so this fine dining restaurant is proving that by an efficient operation of a busy restaurant, it can offset the cost of a free education. So we make about 50% of what it takes to have this free school or this paid for school. So all these students that are there get paid to come to this school. And the business is offsetting that cost. The rest, of course, is fundraise. We are a nonprofit. This is a 501c3. In fact, I started 3 nonprofits: the campus, the restaurant, and the foundation. So it's working. This idea of offering a fair and equal opportunity is actually working. And that's what people are surprised by. That's why I'm out here in Hudson, telling you this, because the word's spreading. And again, you see all these guys on the screen and girls, and this is who's making it happen. For myself, it's long weeks, 90, 100 hours. For these guys and girls, it's an easy 50 hours. For the staff around me, it's a good 60, 70 hours. I mean, this is just a lot of hard work we're throwing at a problem, but the upswing is that the damn thing is working. And you can do this in your life, and you can teach in prisons in your life. You can question those in your circle about hiring someone out of prison. The larger picture of Edwin's isn't just to provide someone with a skill and help someone grow. It's also to change the way we're looking at the rights of our returning citizens. So this is as much of a civil rights movement as it is, frog legs and escargot. We're changing the way that a community of individuals are being looked at, but we need you to also do the same. And start to look at, hey, just because you have a criminal past, which, believe it or not, that's like 1 in 3 Americans, just because you have a brush with the law doesn't mean you're marginalized, doesn't mean you're inept, does not mean that you cannot do something, because you're human, and humans can do anything. And when you start feeling good about yourself, we can do everything, right? So I encourage you to spread the word. I encourage you to come to Edwin's, and if not, you know, ask your circle on how they're looking at our returning citizens. And little by little, I think we'll change the way the reentry is viewed, and in fact, change the face of reentry. So, Mike, I want to keep it a little shorter, and if there's any questions, do we have time or not time? Super. Good. Dave, I've been known to take your breath away, but I mean, this is.
How would a student
Yep.
want to get in there? How could one of these gentlemen or ladies apply to your school? How does that work?
Yeah, very simply. So we try to take all the barriers out of this process. So someone simply calls the restaurant and says, "Look, I want to be part of the school." We say, "No problem. We're going to ask you to register at an organization called Passages, and after that, we interview you." So the class is 6 months long, but every 2 months we begin and end a class. So it's kind of like this stagger. There's every 2 months begins, 2 months it ends. It's as simple as that. And we don't ask about anyone's previous offense. We don't ask about anyone's previous education. Quite frankly, we don't give a damn. In France, I was illiterate. So if you work hard, you can accomplish anything. So we really just challenge people very hard in this program. And not everyone makes it through, but it's very easy to get in. Very easy. Yes, sir.
Two related questions.
Yep.
First is, has this been replicated in other cities in this
Yep.
same kind of behaviors? And do you think this process can apply to other industries?
Absolutely. So has this been done in other cities? Yes. There's other philosophies like this around the country. There is nothing to this level, though. There's nothing to this, level of, say, we're going to house you, we're going to school you, we're going to prepare you, we're going to be behind you, we're going to support you. Nothing to this level. This is the Cadillac. This is nothing else like it. And for a lot of reasons, because of the workload. The second part of the question, is this expandable into any other industry? And the answer is absolutely yes. And that I've worked with demolition companies, I've worked with steel companies, manufacturers, and helped them build out a curriculum that can capture the best of their business and implement it in a very streamlined way over a period of time that works for them. And so, you get a lot of complaints nowadays. Oh, my workforce, or these pity parties people throw for themselves. I say, well, it's in your control. It's in your hands. If you want a better workforce, damn it, then train your staff and build a farm system like these, baseball teams do. You can do it. But then comes this funny thing of like sacrifice. People say, oh, it's a lot of work. Oh, it might cost me a little more money. And it's like, okay, look, this is where I stop. I can provide you with this path, but you're going to have to put the work behind it, and that's where things start to stop, unfortunately. So there is a way to expand this idea of taking men and women from prison or from disadvantaged backgrounds or from disabilities and put them through a training program that offers perspective in any company so that they would then be good employees, leaders, etc. But that hasn't caught fire yet. It's disappointing, but I get it. Yeah.
Do your graduates network with each other, and do they mentor current students? Do you have a formalized program for that?
Yeah, nothing formalized. So, does everyone hear the question? Okay, I think so. So yeah, do our students come back and mentor? Yes and no. So the program is 6 months long. We talked about 2 months start dates, and so there's always this built-in mentoring. So as one class begins, there's a class that's been there for 4 months, or a class that's been there for 2 months. So there's different layers of self-built mentoring while you're in the program. When you leave the program, there's not a formalized system where someone comes back and speaks to to the class and says, "Oh, this is what I did." I mean, there's a few students who do that, and there's others who just they're busy. But mentoring is a big part of what we do. Now, networking within the graduates, absolutely. So, like, usually the next question is, like, are you going to open another Edwin's? It's like, no. Do you want another hole in your head? It's not, no. So one Edwin's is enough because of these graduates, 150 of them, they're now starting to run restaurants. And while they're running restaurants, they're hiring like we hire. They're leading like we lead. So we've got 150 Edwin's already. You just don't know it. Plus, another restaurant would dilute our visibility. Dilute our experience. But having students out there, our visibility is high. They're teaching and training the way they were taught. So no formal mentoring program, but there's a mentoring program. Yes, ma'am.
Do you envision enlarging your program to reach out to troubled youth to
No.
prevent them from going to prison?
No, I do not. Youths are like wild horses. I'm here to fix broken horses, not to break them in. The Department of Youth Services to incarcerate a youth right now. Do you know how much it is a day? Anyone have a guess? $350 a day to incarcerate a youth. To incarcerate adults, $64 a day. Okay, and this is given no medical conditions, all things even. So why is it 6 times more to do a youth? Because I mean, think about the program that's involved. I mean, think about the the mentoring, think about the psychology, think about the assistance, think about the teaching, think about. If you took our budget, if anyone here has a business, I said multiply your budget by 6 and do the same job with what you're getting in, you'd say you're crazy, right? And so it's numbers game. 1, 2. That's not my stroke. That wasn't me. I think for me it's about helping those that have been labeled and branded as invaluable and unfixable, and that's where my strong suit comes in. That's where my passion is. So I've thought about it. I consult. I work with juvenile corrections. I do a lot with kids, but I'm not here to open a restaurant. That'd be different. It's a good question though.
Hi.
Yes, ma'am.
When a person graduates,
Mhm.
and do they follow through, so to speak, with their training? Do they relapse?
Mhm.
What happens?
So, well, after graduation, like I said, our success rate's great. We have 98% getting employed right away. There's a waiting list of jobs. If you want to work, it's there. How do we stay in touch? So, again, there's this computer system in the restaurant that tracks, we check in, we make sure everyone's doing well. And so we track this sort of thing. How well are our students doing? So again, only 2 students have gone back to prison, which is, I think sucks, but it's great in the bigger picture that there's very few people who are going back to the path of that way of life than they were before. So yeah, they've been rather successful. We stay in touch with them, and if there's problems, we're still there for them. I think we do a really good job of staying by someone's side. You see, this whole idea of Edwin's is built on this idea that if we can create a more powerful yes, the temptation around you becomes a bigger no. So if you show if someone has a dream and you start getting them on the path of that, accomplishing that dream, that's very addictive. That stride, you're taking a step and you're winning. You're taking a step and you're winning. Imagine how that feels. I mean, there's neurons getting fired on. There's serotonin pumping. Whatever happens, chemistry. I don't know chemically what happens, but it feels good when you win. So our students are winning when they're in the program, and we make sure they continue to win outside the program. So the temptations of maybe a quick dollar or chasing something that you shouldn't be is gone, and we make sure that we continue on that path of winning.
When you first started to build the shelter, the
Yeah.
dormitories,
Yeah.
who did you go to first? How did you start that? What was your
Where?
what was your first point in getting your shelter built?
Well, so we was by a building, and I found a vacant building, and then someone said, well, you can't afford it. Well, I said, well, why? Because you don't have money. I said, okay. And I just started asking for money. I don't know. I mean, I'm very primitive. You have to remember, I went to school to peel carrots. I mean, I don't overthink things. Usually it's like carrot, peel, cook, I'm like a caveman. And that was it. It was like, we need a house. There's one within walking distance. It's got apartment buildings. Let's raise money to get it, I don't remember where it actually started, but that was pretty much it. Yeah.
How about their driving? A lot of the students have cars.
Yes and no. So in transportation, we can provide bus passes. I'd say there's, we have 40 students at a time. I'd say at any given time, 30 of them or 25 to 30 of them are using public transportation. So not many have cars. If you want to donate some cars, we'll take them. Yeah, it's one of those circumstances. So we work around it, right? We build better plans and stronger systems around non-transportation, not having transportation, and we work into getting transportation. That could be one of those goals. Yeah, but not everyone's got a car. Yeah.
is all the training in your one big restaurant, or are there satellites, and where does all this food go that they're working with?
Yeah, so it goes on your plate. I mean, that's how it's built. Yeah, yeah, it all happens right in the restaurant. Anyone who's worked in has anyone worked in a restaurant here? Okay, so like this is big enough to, like, I could do 20 covers off this little podium. I mean, you figure out a way to stack high and cram. So in that restaurant is a way to facilitate education for 40 people every 2 months, and change and switch. So it all happens right there. There's no satellite. The campus is just for living and studying and playing. The program that takes place in Grafton Prison, which I still do on Saturdays, that's in prison that takes place. So there are 3 separate things going on, but all the teaching goes there, and the food is part of the curriculum. So the menu is really our rubric, right? We're learning from our menu, because the menu is teaching poaching, braising, searing, all these sorts of skills and classic sauces. So it's all kind of built in. I mean, it sounds complex, but it's really easy. It's really just built into it all.
Great.
Yeah.
I can testify it's really tough to get in your restaurant. It's booked. Great things you're doing. How long is your waiting list?
For students?
Yeah.
Again, because this 2-month interval, I mean, no one ever has to wait more than 8 weeks. So if they don't get in the first 2 months, it's going to be back for them in another 2 months.
So they just back them up. You just back them up a couple months.
That's exactly it. And there's ways that they can start learning now. There's other programs they can start getting different skills in. No one's going to lay stagnant if they can't get in the program. But I talked to you about taking everyone that wants to apply. I mean, as long as they're not high and they don't think it's a job, they're coming in. But we lose 50% in the first 3 weeks. The first 3 weeks is a grind. I mean, we're asking more out of someone. We're asking you to, we're asking someone to find comfort in discomfort, because you're always going to be uncomfortable. Once you learn something, we're going to switch it. You're going to learn something else. So in those first 3 weeks, a lot's going on, but the biggest is pressure and asking more out of somebody. Hey, you can do this. And it's hard, but it's hard work. And if someone's not willing to show that grit, they go.
Boot camp.
Yeah, boot camp, exactly what it is. So those first 3 weeks are very important. Also, in 6 months, people always ask what's the most difficult part about Edwin's, and I tell them it's building esteem. It's building esteem back into a person that's lost it over years of incarceration, or years of getting kicked around and just not ever having. That's the hardest part, and the only way to build esteem is to challenge and have someone overcome that challenge. Because as you overcome it, you start to get bigger, stronger, right? And you start to feel great. 6 months later, you're saying, I can take on the world. So there's a lot of psychology behind those first 3 weeks and the program's intensity. But it's if someone wants to do it, they can do it, and you don't have to wait long. You can start now. Yes, there's the beignets. Okay, is that it?
Get them all hungry.
Keep on doing it, man. I mean, it looks good. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate the opportunity today, and we see you at the restaurant.
As we all know, last week's Fine Day, the beneficiary was Edwin's Restaurant. So I'll ask Mike to present the check to Edwin this morning as part of the meeting. Mike?
Thanks very much, Brandon. Really appreciate your time. Thank you. One of the questions that didn't come up is, where does the name come from?
Edwin's. Well, the declaration that education wins, and it's also my middle name for my grandfather, Edwin. So it's got
Great.
hard work and education.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brandon, and everyone for coming this morning. We really appreciate the message. It was very, very interesting. I hope you gathered that we were interested, and just from the nature of the questions. Thanks this morning to our greeters, Dick Pearsall and Joseph Patowski. The audiovisual team, Tom Page, James Field, Dan Rich, Ron Barnhouse, and Jade. Thank you again for being here, Jade, this morning. Thank you to Lonnie and Isaac, service learning students. Today's Rotabuck. The payout is $10. The jackpot is $130. The last four numbers, 3065. 3065. Songmeister.
Hey, quiet guy. You better check it out on the number.
3065.
That's it.
Huh?
That's the right one. Thank you. Thank you.
No winner today, so the jackpot will continue to grow. You know, I observe and think, you know, frequently that all of us, if we didn't come from somewhere else, we're descendants of someone who did. Different place, different culture, most probably a different language. So with that in mind, when I saw these words, they kind of struck a bell. America has never been united by blood or birth or soil. We are bound by ideals that move us beyond our backgrounds, lift us above our interests, and teach us what it means to be citizens. And believe it or not, those were words from our 43rd president, George W. Bush. And I think they ring rather true. With that, have a great week and a happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Reminder, we do not meet next week. Next meeting will be November 30th. Thank you.